In many cultures, water is believed to be a conduit for restless spirits, especially those who met their end beneath its surface. These spirits are said to linger, bound to the waters that claimed them, waiting for the living to stumble upon their domain. During the Hungry Ghost Month, when the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest, a young girl becomes inexplicably drawn to her family's pool. But the water holds a secret, a presence that grows stronger with each passing day. What once was a place of joy may now be a gateway to something far more sinister. Stay tuned and uncover the chilling mystery in Drowned Secrets.
I had been with the Lee family for almost a year when the Hungry Ghost Month arrived. The mansion was large and luxurious, with high walls that kept out the noise of the city. My days were filled with the usual tasks: cooking, cleaning, and looking after May, the young daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lee. They were a busy couple, rarely home, leaving May and me to our own devices. The mansion's pool was May's favorite spot, a sparkling blue oasis hidden from the outside world by tall, dense hedges. May had always been a spirited child, but as Hungry Ghost Month approached, I noticed a change in her. She became restless, drawn to the pool more than usual, even though the skies were overcast, with heavy rain falling and more storms expected in the coming weeks.
I want to swim.
She'd insist, her small hand clutching mine as she led me to the water's edge. I'd try to dissuade her, recalling the old superstitions of my village, how spirits were strongest during this month, especially near water. But May wouldn't listen. Her eyes sparkled with a determination I couldn't break. As she swam, I stayed nearby with the understanding that we would leave the pool at the first sign of rain, lightning or thunder. The water lapped softly against the pool's edge, a gentle rhythm that should have been calming, but something felt off. The surface of the water seemed too still, the sound too quiet, as if the pool was holding its breath, waiting. I often caught May staring at something just beyond my sight, her gaze fixed on a spot beneath the water. When I asked what she was looking at, she'd just smile, her eyes wide and innocent.
She's there.
May would whisper, pointing to the depths.
She wants to play with me.
A chill ran down my spine. I looked, but there was nothing, just the clear blue of the water. Still, an unease settled in my bones, a gnawing fear that something wasn't right. It started with small things, May becoming more withdrawn, her once cheerful demeanor fading into something darker. She'd spend hours by the pool, staring into the water as if waiting for someone. At night, she'd wake up screaming, her tiny body convulsing, eyes rolled back in her head. I'd rush to her side, holding her trembling form, whispering soothing words. But the terror in her eyes wouldn't fade. May would cry, her voice hoarse. The whispers began soon after, low and almost imperceptible at first, like the faintest rustling of leaves. But as the days passed, they grew louder, more insistent, filling the quiet moments with a sound that shouldn't be there. I'd hear them in the dead of night when the house was still, and all I could see was the moonlight filtering through the curtains, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The whispers seemed to come from the pool, carried on the breeze, seeping through the walls and into my dreams. May's condition worsened. Her skin grew pale, almost translucent, and her eyes, once bright and full of life, became dull, glassy. The child who once laughed and played now sat silently by the pool, her lips moving in a soundless conversation with something I couldn't see. The tension in the house became unbearable, a thick, oppressive weight that pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. Desperate, I reached out to a monk, hoping he could shed light on what was happening. The monk arrived with solemn eyes and a quiet presence. He walked the perimeter of the pool, chanting under his breath, his expression growing darker with each step. Finally, he turned to me, his voice heavy with grim certainty.
"I sense a spirit here,"
he said.
"A vengeful one."
He explained that the previous nanny had drowned in the pool under mysterious circumstances, her death shrouded in secrecy. The spirit of the nanny had returned, fueled by anger and sorrow, seeking revenge on those who had wronged her. The whispers I heard, the voices May had been speaking to, must have been remnants of the nanny's rage. The monk began a ritual, burning incense and chanting prayers to appease the spirit. The air grew thick with the scent of sandalwood, the smoke curling into the sky like tendrils reaching out to the heavens. May, who had been listless for days, suddenly began to convulse, her small body writhing on the ground as if something was trying to pull her away from this world. I held her close, feeling her struggle, the coldness of her skin seeping into mine. The wind picked up, howling through the trees, and the water in the pool began to churn, as if something beneath the surface was thrashing in anger. The whispers turned into wails, echoing off the walls, filling the night with a sound that made my blood run cold. The monk's voice rose above the chaos, his words a beacon of light in the darkness. But the spirit fought back, unwilling to let go, its presence a palpable force that pushed against the ritual. Then, in a moment of clarity, I understood. The nanny's spirit was not just seeking revenge, it was trying to protect May from the very people who had hurt her. The child's mother had been suspected of foul play, her jealousy and anger towards the nanny well known. But it had all been buried, hidden under layers of wealth and influence. The spirit's anger was justified, but it was now misdirected. I whispered to the spirit, my voice trembling but firm. "I will protect her," I promised. "I will stay by her side just as you did." The wind slowed, the water calmed, and the wails turned into soft, mournful cries. The spirit of the nanny hesitated, her presence lingering for a moment longer before fading into the night. May's convulsions ceased, her breathing steadying as she slipped into a deep, peaceful sleep. The monk finished the ritual, his face lined with exhaustion, but there was a glimmer of relief in his eyes. The spirit had been appeased, but I knew it wasn't truly gone. It would always be there, watching over May, ensuring no harm would come to her. As I tucked May into bed that night, the house was eerily quiet, the oppressive atmosphere lifted. But as I turned to leave, I felt a cold breeze brush against my cheek, and I knew I had made a promise. I would stay by May's side, protecting her from both the living and the dead, just as the nanny had done. The pool was silent now, its surface smooth and undisturbed, but I would never forget the voices that had once echoed from its depths, nor the spirit that had vowed to protect the innocent, even in death.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Remember, the past has a way of resurfacing, especially when it's tied to deep, dark waters.